Hey, what's up? This is Frank Mandolini of the Last Minute Wrestling Podcast. Thank you for checking this video and make sure to leave a thumbs up below. And in the description, you will find the link to follow me on all social media and on Spotify and Apple Podcast, which conveniently is the place where you should leave a 5-star review to help other people get into this wonderful podcast named Last Minute Wrestling Podcast. Thank you so much. Enjoy the video. How are you doing? You just had, I think, like a week of taping or something like that in NWA?
Well, yeah, we had 3 days. We had the pay-per-view on Sunday and then a little taping after that. And then we had TV tapings Monday and Tuesday. But I mean, we shot 4 episodes each day. So it was,
whoa.
Yeah, ton of work, but I mean, the best time. So
yeah, I can imagine that. Well, first of all, I haven't introduced you properly to our listeners. So welcome to the Last Minute Wrestling Podcast, to the great Sal Rinauro. I've been wanting to do this interview for about a year now, so which means from the start of this podcast, because you are an NWA OG. Basically, you were the first wrestler to appear in the first episode of NWA Powerrr, right?
Yeah, it was the very first match, very first one through the curtain. I like to tell everybody I'm the pillar that the whole company's been built upon.
That's true. That is so true.
Yeah. Without me, there could never be match 2. So you're welcome, world.
But what I think people don't realize that you and NWA have a long history. You're like NWA through and through. Tell me a little bit about it.
So a little bit before the NWA thing, I had moved out to Georgia in 1998 because that's where WCW was.
Yeah.
And I was 15 at the time, and I thought, oh, well, I'll just, like any logical 15-year-old, I said, I'll just move to Georgia. I'll sign with WCW. I'll be in the cruiserweight division. Well, I was here about a year and a half, and I found out that NWA Wildside was kind of, the term wasn't even developmental at the time, but NWA Wildside was kind of a breeding ground for WCW. That's where they were sending a lot of their guys. So I said, well, that's where I'll go. So I started with, I think my first show with NWA Wildside was 2000. So we're going on 21 years now of
wow,
me working with the NWA in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and did you have the chance to work in WCW as well at the time?
No, unfortunately, right when I got there is when the company started closing, and like I said, I was real young at the time, so I hadn't even really got my foot in the door there, before WCW went under. I knew a lot of the guys that were doing like the extra work and things like that. I had gotten to know AJ Styles and Air Paris right before they signed.
Yeah, because they were working like in underneath matches or something like that at the time, right?
Yeah. So I mean, if WCW would have survived maybe 6 more months, I guarantee I would have had I would have probably been losing to Shark Boy on Saturday night or something like that. But it just, the timing just didn't get there for me.
What recollection do you have of AJ Styles at the time? Did you foresee what he was, what his potential was?
We knew AJ was the man. To see AJ in 2000 and think, oh, he's going to be like the guy in WWE one day, I don't even know if my brain could have wrapped around that. Sometimes my brain still does it, like, oh, that's just AJ to me. At this point, it's just AJ. Like, I can call him if I needed like a glass of milk, and here he is wrestling The Undertaker at WrestleMania. I don't think anybody could have foreseen that. I mean, we all knew he was the guy. Like, I mean, there was no doubt that the talent was there, that the hunger was there, that the work ethic was there. But just to see how far he's taken that is sometimes, it still boggles my mind.
Yeah, and once the WCW went under, did you work for TNA as well?
Yeah, I was actually at the first pay-per-view. I was doing stuff backstage, but I mean, like the TNA Explosion shows, they actually just there's a long going joke between me and one of the guys because I used to help with the merch truck too. I did that for about 2 years where I was solely on the merchandising side, and me and another guy named Tony used to joke about, you know, once the TNA Explosion box set comes out, my bookings are going to take off because I'm all over it. I mean, there was a time where, like, with the TNA Explosions, so Jerry Jarrett would run the curtain. You know, and keep in mind, like, I'm what 18, 19 at this point, and I mean, and like, all I'm seeing are all these guys that I grew up watching on TV, and like, somehow I'm in this same locker room. You know, like, even as a kid, I was a huge Jeff Jarrett guy. Just I the whole country music thing, I dug it, I loved it. So just like to see Jeff Jarrett walk by every week blew my mind. So like, you know, I'm a kid in the candy store, just like, this is the greatest gig ever. And Jerry Jarrett was running, he was the last guy you would see before you would go through the curtain. And I kid you not, this happened to me 3 weeks in a row. I'd go out and have whatever match I had on Explosion. And 3 weeks in a row, I'd walk back through the curtain and Jerry would go, "Well, boy, that's the best Explosion match I've ever seen." Jerry, I don't think you're watching. But I mean, you know, there was so many fun times there on the early days. And then even I just did a podcast. This was just a couple weeks ago. And they were asking me about some of my history, and they brought up something I did in TNA that I completely forgot I had done. Yeah. Where if you go back and watch Slammiversary 05, I'm dressed up in the crowd as Jeff Hardy, and Jeff Jarrett pulls me over the guardrail and hits me with a guitar, and that's why he gets arrested, and he's not in the main event that night. And yeah, I completely forgot. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was the guitar shot, but I completely had erased that from my memory. So getting reminded of that, I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. Like, I ate a guitar shot from Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, dressed as Jeff Hardy, nonetheless.
Yeah, dressed as Jeff Hardy on top of all of that. So it was really, really cool.
So it's not just CM Punk who did a great Jeff Hardy impression. There's also Sal Rinauro.
We're pretty much one and the same, me and Punk.
So, casting back your memory to the October 2019, when NWA Powerrr first started out, the first episode was an incredible success. All the wrestling media was over it, saying how good and innovative that was, and also The Rock complimented you guys. So yeah, that's a pretty great accomplishment.
When I saw, that was the one that got me the most out of all the, you know, like, I saw all the complimentary tweets and all that stuff, and I was like, man, that's really cool. But when The Rock tweeted about it, because I was like, wait, I was in the first match. Yeah. There's no way The Rock didn't see me. We're basically best friends now. So.
Yeah. How was the atmosphere behind the scenes before that first episode? I mean,
so it's funny, and I share this story a lot. I wasn't even booked. Like, I had heard that they were doing it, and I had put out some feelers and never heard anything back. The first taping was on a Monday.
Yeah.
I didn't get booked till Friday before that.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm literally 3 days out. They're like, hey, we're going to use you. I'm like, all right, great. You know, so I get there, and it was walking into that studio for the first time. It was like stepping out of my DeLorean and walking right into 1985. I mean, I'm a big wrestling nerd. I tell you, know, that's like my thing.
Like we all are.
Yeah. You know, like I watch wrestling in my free time for fun. You know, like, that's fun for me, is going back and watching stuff. I mean, I've watched wrestling my whole life. You know, like, all the old magazines, the Pro Wrestling Illustrateds and the Inside
Mm-hmm.
Wrestlings, and like all of it, you know, like I've consumed my whole life with wrestling. So like walking on that stage, it's just like, oh wow, this is it. Like I've seen this before. And it's funny because as I'm like just taking this in, here comes Ricky and Robert, you know, Rock and Roll Express. And I was like, oh,
Woof.
how did this happen? But there was such a, before the show, there was a nervousness, but it was a positive nervousness. Like, you know, everybody was kind of just ready to let's put our best foot forward. Let's see what we can do. Let's make the most of it. And at the end of that night, I mean, there was high. We knew. I mean, we didn't know that it would be such a critical success, but I think, I mean, and I'm speaking for everybody in the locker room, but we felt we had done something good. You know, we there was no way of knowing what everybody else would think, but there was magic in that studio that night. I mean, it was just a tangible thing where you could just like, and keep in mind, like, I was just a job guy. I was just literally when I got there, this is one of my favorite stories. When I got there, it was me and a partner, and we were X and Y. I mean, our names weren't on run sheets. Our name wasn't on the dry erase board. It was the Dawsons versus two Hammonders, basically. And Crimson, who I've known for a long while anyways, through TNA and all that stuff, was actually the director for our match.
Okay.
And when he came up, he was directly talking to the Dawsons about, you know, this is the goal, blah, 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 blah. And then he stopped and he looked. Sal? Hey, what's up? What's up, Crimson? And he was like, oh. He goes, you're in this match? I go, well, that's what I've been told. He was like, oh. And he completely shifted his attention. And he's like, well, this is what we're looking for, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, and he goes, do you mind if I use you again tonight? I was like, I'm here, you know? And so then he threw me in a tag match with, against Colt Cabana and Ken Anderson on the second taping that night, you know? But like, I was literally just a body walking in that night. Like, I didn't think anybody knew my name outside of my friends. And to come out of that night and like for Billy Corgan to come talk to me, like, it's nuts. But like, we all knew that the product that we put out there was good. We didn't know what the fan reception would be, but we knew we'd done everything we could do to make it work. So it was high fives and hand claps all around. And then when you get the critical success that you had mentioned, where, you know, just the wrestling media, you know, fell in love with it, and, you know, Dwayne Johnson, the biggest movie star in the world, is like, hey, that's a cool deal. Like, oh yeah, we're not alone in feeling like we're on to something good here.
Yeah, for what I can tell from here, at least from Italy, my perception of that first episode was that you really stood out because your character catches the eye immediately. And that may be the hairstyle, the colorful gear, whatever. You're, of course, incredibly skilled in the ring. But you can tell that there is so much character work that goes in there. And that's helped a lot to, from the get-go, from the first match, to grab the attention. At least that's what I felt.
Yeah, and it's... thank you so much. I'm glad. I'm very proud. Like, so like, I've always been a gear guy, even as a kid. Like, I liked Rick Rude and Randy Savage, whether they were good or bad, because they always changed up their looks.
Yep.
And that's something I've always tried to bring to what I do. And like this last week, they were making fun of me just this last week at the tapings, because every day I was pulling out new gear, you know. And keep in mind, we haven't shot in over a year now, so I've had nothing but time to, you know, like, and God bless my gear guy. He's actually I helped train him to wrestle. His name's Adrian Hawkins, and he's my gear guy. And so poor guy, I'll wake up at 3:30 in the morning with a crazy idea about gear, and I'll immediately text him. So I can only imagine every time he sees my name on his phone, he's like, "Oh no, not again." But I mean, he's done really, really awesome work, and I can't wait for these new episodes to start coming out so you can see some of the work he's done. There was a little snippet. I did a backstage interview at the pay-per-view with May Valentine.
Oh yeah.
And I promised him, like, I can't get it's not a full body shot. I'm going to do my best to get the gear on TV. So when I walk in screen, like, I high kick just so you can at least see the leg. But as the next episodes start to come out and the new content comes out, I really hope the fans are going to be into some of the gear work that I've got going.
Oh yeah. I can't wait to see that. And talking about last year's NWA Powerrr, just right before the pandemic hit, you were doing this love story, this triangle love story with May Valentine and Royce Essex. And
yes.
And of course, because of everything that happened, we never got the payoff to that storyline. Basically, what was the idea of that? Do you already know where it was headed?
I've got a couple of ideas of where it was headed, and that's the biggest heartbreaking thing. So rewind just a little bit. So when we got to the next set of tapings, again, like, I knew a little more than 2 days in advance that I was booked. But again, I went into these things thinking, well, I'm here to get beat up. I know my spot. That's okay. I'm glad to be a part of the team. I feel like there's something really good going on here. So I was talking to Caleb Conway, who I've known probably too long at this point, in the hallway. And here comes Billy Corgan walking down the hallway. And he's kind of got his eyes on us. And so I'm thinking, oh, well, I'll step back and I'll let him talk to Caleb, because they probably got superstar business to talk about. And sure enough, Billy walks right up to us and he goes, "Hey, Sal, do you have a minute?"
Yeah.
Yeah. I got an hour. I got a day. Whatever you need. And he said, I've got this idea. And I think you're the perfect guy for it. I said, well, yeah, whatever you want, man. That's great. So he kind of laid out this story that really happened to him, where he was in a locker room one day, minding his own business, and jealous boyfriend walks in and says, "Hey, you've been spending too much time with my girlfriend. I know there's something going on there. And if I ever see you with her again, you're going to get the business." And Billy goes, "To this day, I still don't know who this guy's girlfriend was." He said, "But I kind of think there's something there with you and Royce and May." And I was like, "Oh, that's perfect." And keep in mind, at the time, I've got a broken arm. So I actually, when I broke my arm, we had the pay-per-view. We had a pay-per-view and then 2 sets of TVs on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. The Wednesday before that, I was booked at NXT.
Whoa.
And so, like, I had a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
Broke my arm. And I was like, oh, it's done for me.
Terrible timing. Yeah.
Yeah. And when NXT, when I contacted them, they said, "Get healthy and we'll be back in touch." So I understand, what are you going to do with a guy with a broken arm? I hadn't even had the surgery yet, so like, yeah, I get it. And when I contacted the NWA, they're like, "No, please still come. This actually might work to your advantage." I said, oh, if I only knew, I'd have broke my arm years ago.
You don't have to take bumps that way.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so Billy kind of laid this out, and we started shooting the vignettes and stuff. We had a lot of stuff with me, and keep in mind, May has no background in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And but she's so quick. I mean, she's picked a lot of it up so quickly. And like, the one thing that like the pandemic did open up is like we legitimately are real good friends. Like I text her constantly about whatever, like, you know, like this crazy storyline kind of became reality. And we were talking regularly about, oh, well, what's the plan for this? What do you think about this? You know, where at one point, I know we had discussed like I was going to go out to California where her and Royce live. Yeah. And I was going to show up on dates with them and things like that until he finally lost his mind. And I don't know what we never got a definitive, like, this is exactly what's going to happen. But I do know when I got the phone call that Crockett Cup was getting canceled, it was a double whammy because it was, hey, Sal, just, you know, we want to let you know before it gets out, but we are going to have to pull the plug on the Crockett Cup, which really stinks for you because we had a lot of stuff in mind for you. And I was like, oh no, it's not just that the show's getting canceled that I was like legitimately looking forward to, but then to find out like, oh yeah, you had stuff on the docket. It's just like, it's a double whammy of pain. But like I said, out of all of it, it's real weird just because like legitimately, like May and I talk a lot just about, you know, non-wrestling stuff. I had to go out to California in November for family reasons. And I visited with family and then I went and ate with May. Like it's like this great friendship has really blossomed from this storyline.
Well, that's cool. That's kind of cool to hear. And when was the last set of taping before the lockdown happened?
They were January, and the only reason I remember this is the last night of tapings was the same night as the Royal Rumble when Edge came back.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, and the only reason I remember that is because I left. Is when I got done with my stuff, I took off early because I wanted to come home and watch the Royal Rumble with my son.
Yeah,
because he was furious that I was at NWA and not at home to watch the Rumble. So I was like, hey guys, I gotta go. I'm sorry. And like, you know, I saw that there was a big after party where everybody kind of hung out and watched the Rumble. I was like, that's cool, but I really wanted to be with my son. Which, you know, bittersweet, you know, just especially with that long layover, because I was like, oh, there was this one chance to hang out with everybody. But like getting to watch my son's reaction when Edge came back, made up for all of it. You know, like that's you know, like I said, I've been watching wrestling my whole life. You know, so I figured out a thing or two, but I love to watch wrestling with my son, not just because it's a bonding thing, but because I get to see wrestling through just a fan's eyes.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, it's not ruined by insider knowledge or gossip or
rumors
or any. It's just a kid that likes wrestling. So I love to get to watch his reaction to stuff because he's kind of my test to see if something's working or not.
Yeah.
If he gets into something, I was like, oh yeah, they're definitely onto something. But just that whole, I mean, like I said, that when Edge returned, you know, like that brought a tear to my eye. But watching him, I mean, he's 10 years old and he's jumping up and down on the couch. And this is a guy he's never seen wrestle before live, you know, I mean, that, you know, because through the network, he's seen, you know, tons and tons and tons of Edge matches. And, but just to, like, this is a guy he'd never got to experience wrestle live and he's losing his mind. I was like, yeah, okay, this is worth it. This was worth making that hustle trip home.
What does your son said about you being on NWA? Did he see it, the message you had?
Yeah, well, so he's very attached to me. I've got 3 kids. My eldest son has nothing to do with wrestling, doesn't care, not impressed. You know, I'll tell him, oh yeah, you know, like I just wrestled this. Like, even when he was a little kid, just as a game, like I would take a pillow and throw it at him, and I would say Sabu because that's how Sabu used to throw the chairs, you know. So he's been raised his whole life knowing who Sabu is. A couple of years ago, I wrestled Sabu, and he was like, "Oh, that's cool." No, this is like this is amazing. But my youngest son is me to a T. I mean, he's young, Sal Rinauro. He's, like he's where I get news from. I'll come home and be like, "Oh, did you hear Kane is getting inducted in the Hall of Fame?" This, that, and the third. And he's like, he was on a big mission to get all the WrestleManias watched before this year's WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's in him. He's hooked. When I tell him things like, "Oh yeah, dude, I've got NWA, I've got pay-per-view and TVs," he's like, "That's awesome, but I'm gonna miss you. I don't want you to go." And I'm like,
that's so cool.
I know, buddy. Yeah. So it tugs at my heartstrings, but I mean, thank heavens we live in an era with FaceTime and things of that nature, because at least I can communicate with him every day and see his ugly mug and all that stuff. But and it's funny just because like I talk about him a lot in the locker room, to the point where, like, when I got to the pay-per-view on Sunday, this past Sunday, one of the first people I bumped into was Aaron Stevens, who I've had long conversations with him about Jacob. And as soon as I see him, he's like, "Hey, how's your son doing?" I'm like, "Hey, good to see you too." I'm here too, buddy. But at least I can communicate that to Jacob. Like, "Hey, dude, people at least know who you are. You exist. So you're not forgotten, I promise."
That's great. And now I wanted to ask you about the long period of time where NWA couldn't record new episodes. How was from your perspective, or if the perspective of some other people in the NWA, seeing all of the talents that got the chance to be signed, like with AEW or other promotions and stuff like that? I mean, I guess you were happy for them, but also for the NWA as a whole, that was kind of a loss of talent.
Absolutely. So like I said, my arm was broken. So I tell people all the time, like, I just took a jump start on the pandemic, because I was cleared to return in April, but everything got shut down in March. So I hadn't had a match since January. So I was already chomping at the bit. So I was already kind of, like I said, I was ready to go. Like I couldn't have been. I was on cloud 9, like, here we go, lockdown. And you started to hear the murmurs that, "Oh, this guy's going to get a shot." And so it's like you said, like, so like I had become friendly with Ricky Starks. I've known Eddie Kingston for a long time. And so Kyle Davis, who's the backstage interviewer and has done some commentary on the power shows. I've known him basically his whole career. He started training in Ring of Honor when I was there. Yeah. So I've known him forever, and he just moved to Georgia, and we actually, during the pandemic, when it first hit, when NWA was doing the Carneyland thing just to provide some content. Yeah. He and I kind of had shot our own spin-off show. Where it was basically a buddy comedy where we were just going around. The concept was I was trying to find a piece of jewelry to get to May to give her some comfort, and what shenanigans can come from this. And the stuff we shot, it was actually really, really funny, I thought. But it just, the longer we were off, the more it just wasn't, we weren't able to produce stuff. Stuff was getting shut down because we were just in the wild shooting stuff. Yeah. But it seemed like every other day at one point, Kyle was sending me a message. "Hey, did you hear Eddie's at AEW tonight? Did you hear, Royce is asking for his lease. Zicky Dice is asking for his release. Ricky Starks is at AEW." And it's just like, oh no, so like it was frustrating in that you hate to see that kind of talent leave. You know, for a guy like me, especially since, like I said, I've known Eddie forever, and in my fantasy booker brain, Eddie Kingston was this generation's Dusty Rhodes to Nick Aldis's Ric Flair.
Oh, so fucking hell, absolutely.
Yeah, so like that's what I had. I don't know if anybody else had, but I built that up in my brain. Just the promos to get to that match at the pay-per-view, I think would have been, you know, top notch, you know, second to none on anybody on any roster anywhere. And so, plus I just like having Eddie Kingston around because he's a great guy to be around. So to see him go, it's like, yeah, good for you, Eddie. Like, you deserve this. You've earned this. You worked your butt off to get this position. Also, I'm going to need you to come back for the tapings because I like you. You're awesome. So as a talent, it was very just like, oh, I hate to see this guy go. I hate to see this girl go. I hate to see this guy go, just because we had all become such a real close-knit group in such a small amount of time that, you know, you hate to see people that you like to be with go somewhere where they can't be with you. But you also love, you know, like I love to see them succeed. I love that I can turn on TV and see Eddie Kingston and Eli Drake and Ricky Starks, and you know, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for those that weren't getting those opportunities, it was even more frustrating because I'm a wrestler. It's what I do. You know, it's just like I said. It's basically encompassed my whole life is going out and performing, and to not have that platform to do it. It's like, I slowly started like, I've got to do something, man. I don't know. My hobbies are watching wrestling and lifting weights so I can wrestle, you know? So like, there was a down period there, and thank heavens, like, especially a guy like Kyle, who I can at least, you know, share my frustrations with. And, hey, man, at least I know I'm not in this boat alone.
Yeah.
You know, and May too. Like I said, May was she lives out in California, who's been shut down even more than I have in Georgia. So just to have somebody to bounce that frustration off of and know that, like, all right, we're gonna get through this. It's gonna take a little time. When we get through it all, it's going to be worth it because we're gonna have a good product. It got real lean there, but after this pay-per-view and these set of TVs we just did, I mean, it felt like we didn't miss a beat. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm really, really excited for the content that we shot these last few weeks to start appearing on the Fight app. 'Cause, I mean, it's wonderful television, and it's so true. Some of the faces might be different, some of the names might be different, but the feel, the vibe, the heart is still so true to what we had on episode 1 all the way through.
Yeah, and I can imagine that after this long layoff period, when you had the news that the NWA was coming back, and you had the chance to do the pay-per-view, and also to partner with Fight, which is an amazing reality and an amazing provider that gets all over the world. And when did you really knew that the NWA was coming back? When did it happen?
So I think I had first heard the murmurs. It was towards middle of January. I started to hear, hey, it looks like March. So March is a long month. But I need dates. Like, I've got to, you know, I just need to know that they're out there in the world. And Kyle, who's got more inside connections than me, had told me, he goes, hey, it's looking like March 23rd, 24th, 25th. I said, okay, well, I'm going to keep those days open. I'm going to keep my fingers double crossed. And then Pat Kenny, who was Simon Diamond in ECW, he's the head of talent relations now. I got a text from him, and it was, "Hey, give me a call." I said, "Oh, this is it's one or two things. This is either real good news or real bad news." So I called him immediately, and he said, "Hey, what are you doing March 23rd, 24th, 25th?" And I was like, "Buddy, I'm doing whatever you need me to do." And he goes, "That's what I like to hear. We're back." And I was like, I had just pulled up to my house, and I got off the phone with him, and I started hitting the horn. My kids came out, and I'm like, "What's wrong?" I said, "Nothing. We're going back to work. We're finally here." I mean, it was fortunately for my neighbors, I didn't have any fireworks, or I would have shot those things out.
Like the 4th of July.
Yeah, absolutely. I was so ready. I was so excited to get the word, and then, but even after the announcement came, "Hey guys, we got pay-per-view, we're on Fight," like all these great things. They started announcing the card, and I didn't see my name anywhere on it. I said, "Oh no, maybe they forgot about me." Maybe I started to get nervous, and up until the day of when I walked in, and they pulled me aside and said, "Hey, you and May have a backstage on the pay-per-view." I said, "Oh, that's even better. That's the best." But overjoyed is an understatement. I mean, it's one of those, like, I've been waiting on this call. I've been working for this moment. My son gives me a hard time every day when I go to the gym. He's like, "You don't need to go to the gym today. You don't have anything going on right now." And I said, "Hey, I don't want to have to get ready. If I stay ready, I don't have to worry about it." And so when I got the news, because I'm usually like, I go to the gym 5 or 6 times a week, and then I do yoga to supplement.
Okay.
Yeah. When I got the news, I said, "Hey, buddy, it's grind time now. There's no off days. We're gonna push through." And he's like, "Oh." And like I said, he's 10 now. I've told him, when you get 13, you can just start coming to the gym with me. Oh, yeah. and then we can avoid you not having this time with me. Knowing in the back of my mind, probably by the time he gets to 13, the last person he wants to hang out with is his crazy old dad anyways. That's besides the point.
Yeah, you don't have to tell him that at the moment.
Yeah, no, he's good for now.
Listen, Sal, of course, I'm not asking you for any spoiler, but just 2 quick things. One, what do you want to accomplish within the NWA? And 2, is there any wrestler from around the world, from Europe maybe, that you would like to see compete in the NWA?
Ooh, we'll start with that second one first.
Yeah.
There's such a vast group of guys over in the UK. I love Mike Bailey. I could watch him. Yeah, I watch him constantly, and then like
great guy, absolutely.
Yeah, and then like a Zack Sabre Jr. Would be. He's one of those guys that I don't even say study, because most of the time I just watch and I'm just like, I don't even know what I just saw, but I love it and I want to see it again. Like my brain just doesn't work the way that his brain does when it comes to putting guys in holds and stuff. So, but I mean, how the UK scene's so good right now. And obviously he's not available, but like just the most over guy in the Rinauro house right now is Pete Dunne.
Pete Dunne. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's
unbelievable.
He's so. I mean, and he like, on top of just like my son loves him, I love him. My daughter, who's 7, she's even like, yeah, he's good. Like, yeah, obviously, when you're so good that 7-year-old little girls that don't watch wrestling can stop and go, oh yeah, he's good, you're on to something. He's just the most over wrestler at my house right now. Just I mean, if somehow Pete Dunne were happen to slip through the cracks and show up in NWA, holy moly. He's just Eddie's a baby. He's like what, 24, 20?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like 25 or something like that.
Yeah, he's a baby. He hasn't even reached his peak yet. But I mean, there's so much talent over there that I think would be able to slide right in with seamlessly, without a hiccup at all. That I've always admired a lot of that the UK talent. Just, I mean, so bring them on, bring them all on. As far as what I would like to accomplish, there's so much. Obviously, I've been like we talked about. I've been associated with the NWA for 21 years now, in one way or another, and I've never had a match for the world title. I've been close, I've been on a ton of shows with the world title being defended, but I just haven't gotten the call. That's number one, tippy top. I would love just to see my name slotted against the world champion would be super, unbelievably awesome. The TV title is the title. Even as a child, I always dug the Intercontinental title and the television title.
Yeah,
those were my two favorite championships. So
with the coolest design, if you ask me.
Absolutely, yeah. So for a chance to get in there, to get in the TV title mix, that would be really cool, especially with the caveat now. And I just think it's one of those cute winks and nods that, title defenses have the 6 minute 5 second time limit. Anytime you can get 6:05 in there, just because those numbers are as synonymous with my childhood as any. But yeah, I'd love to get a hold of the TV title. I'd like to get more time at the commentary desk. I got to do it once, and I had a blast, and this is when Stu Bennett was still there, who was spectacular. And, afterwards I pulled him aside just to make sure, like, hey, what do I need to work on? He said, oh, mate, you did fantastic. I'm like, that's really cool. Like, you're you. So for you to say that, like, that means a lot. So I definitely would love to get in the booth again. Joe Galley, who's the lead play-by-play guy, I think is criminally underrated. I was listening to him more at the pay-per-view just because I had a lot of downtime versus TV tapings. But I was listening to him do his thing, and I think Joe's so talented. Yeah. And then we just announced that Velvet Sky is going to start doing color commentary with the team too. So really, any excuse to get close to Velvet Sky, I'll take.
yeah, that's absolutely true. Sal, thank you so much for your time. You've been incredibly giving. And before I let you plug all of your channels, just one quick question. We are seeing a lot of Thunder Rosa on AEW. Yes. Is there a chance that the Forbidden Door is a revolving door that can work both ways, and we will see someone from NWA in AEW and vice versa, other than Thunder Rosa, of course?
Right. Let's hope so. I don't think that door's closed. I'll say that much. I don't want to tip the cap too much, but I definitely don't think there's it's not padlocked. We'll just say that. There's so much talent at AEW, and a lot of those guys I've crossed paths with over my years, including, and it's funny because it's such a diverse group of guys that I've known throughout the way. So like, obviously like Colt Cabana, who I did the Wrestling Road Diaries with, the Young Bucks, I was actually their first ROH TV match, like their first national TV match of the Young Bucks I was in. But then even guys like Griff Garrison, who, he's I've kind of done a lot of work. Like I didn't train him, but I've helped him come a long way to become a finished product. So there's so much talent there that I would love to. I'd love to get a shot to mix it up with some of them. And like I said, I don't think that door's padlocked at all. So keep your eyes open. I think there's some exciting stuff in store.
Well, that's the answer I was hoping for. So thank you so much. Plug all of your channel. Where can we find Sal Rinauro?
You can find me on Facebook, Sal Rinauro, real clever. You can find me on Twitter at Sal Rinauro. You can find me on what's the other one? Instagram at Sal_Rinauro, because when I tried to make Sal Rinauro, I think I hit the wrong button. So that one's just not a real one, but Sal_Rinauro on Instagram. That's RINAURO, a lot of vowels. That's just what you get.
I mean, I'm used to Italian names, so I'm not scared of that.
Yeah. No. For all the Italian fans, this is easy peasy.
Yeah. So, have you ever wrestled in Italy?
No, that is on the bucket list, probably higher than the NWA's world title match.
Oh, that would be great.
I definitely want to go get over there. There was a time, I mean, this is probably 02, 03, where CZW had started running in Italy.
Yeah.
And I was on a short list of guys that might be going, and I just didn't make the cut. Jimmy Rave, who's one of my best friends, did, and he came back just, you gotta go. Like, I'm trying. I want to. So any Italian promoters out there that are interested, at Sal Rinauro. I also forgot to plug my t-shirt store.
Oh, yeah.
ProWrestlingTees.com/Sal Rinauro. I've got a couple shirts up there now. I've got one that is in production as we speak. Hopefully we'll be able to drop within 2 weeks. That might be my favorite shirt I've ever made, which is saying a lot. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, ProWrestlingTees.com/Sal Rinauro.
I'll make sure to put the link in the description below.
Great, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. So thank you so much. That has been an amazing chat. I mean, time really flew by. I'm so thankful for the time that you dedicated to me.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to do it. I love doing this stuff. Obviously I could talk pro wrestling all day. So
yeah, and that would be worth listening.
Oh yeah, no, it's we didn't even touch the surface on some of my crazy stories. So we'll have to do this again sometime.
Well, I'm all for it. Round 2 in the nearby future, okay?
Sounds great. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Sal. Ciao.